Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin with me.
Stan Noffsinger, welcome to Brethren Voices.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure
to be here.
It's a pleasure to be here at General Offices of the Church of the Brethren. You have a role as the General Secretary of the Church of the Brethren, and I'd like to know and have our audience learn more about what does that actually amount to.
Well, the role of the General Secretary, as the church is currently organized, is the highest paid official of the church. And in a lot of respects, it's similar to the Chief Executive Officer of a corporation, except it's of the church. And so I have responsibility of working with the officers of our annual conference, as well as the Mission and Ministry Board, which is the board of directors for denominational programs. And then I oversee and work collaboratively with an executive staff, both here in Elgin and at the Brethren Service Center in New Windsor, Maryland, and then relate to the sister churches of the Brethren around the world. So I oversee and work collaboratively with all of our employees around the world.
Sounds like a big job.
There's never a dull moment, and there are no 2 days alike.
Makes it exciting.
It does
never
indeed.
Boring. Do you have a Brethren background? Where do you come from? How did you
Quite Brethren background. Our family has been involved in the Church of the Brethren for as long as I can find historically. My father was a Church of the Brethren pastor. My grandfather was a bivocational pastor in Southern Ohio. And the Lower Miami Church of the Brethren in Southern Ohio was built on land that my great-great-grandfather donated. So we have a long history in the continental United States, and we can track it back to Europe. And before that, we were part of the Mennonite tradition. So we have a long history of Anabaptism in our family.
And yet you don't have a theological background for this job. What is your background, and how did you get here?
That's a great question. No, I'm not ordained. I'm the first General Secretary to be called out of the laity. My background is in interpersonal communications with some psychology, and I worked within healthcare and was an administrator in a large multidisciplinary practice in Wichita, Kansas. When I was called to be the executive director of what was then Emergency Response Service Ministries of the Church of the Brethren, and served there for 3 years before being called into the General Secretary's position. So it was through a process of just presence and just a lot of passion for the church that, and listening to the sense of God's call, and as people encouraged me to look at it, why I have.
What does the general office do? I mean, what happens here in Elgin?
The general offices, there are the home, if you will, of the denominational offices. We have everything from our accounting staff, all of our communications team, which would deal with internet communications, Newsline, the Messenger magazine, which is our periodical, is produced and published from this location. The editor is in Southern California, and it's a new day where people can work across the miles. And then we would have our all of our publications here for any books that come out of Brethren Press, Congregational Life Ministries, our global mission partnerships, our human resources, and of course, General Secretary's office are here. We also have, and are privileged to have, the Church of the Brethren Benefit Trust, which manages the pension plan for the Church of the Brethren, and they have Brethren Foundation, which is an investment organization that churches can invest their funds in, and they also have insurance services that they provide. And then we're really privileged to have a church that is domiciled here. It's not a Church of the Brethren, but we have had them in our building for quite a number of years. And then also the Elgin Youth Symphony Orchestra has an office here in the building.
Really?
Yes.
Well, when we arrived today, there was a chapel, and I heard that it's a regular thing on Wednesday mornings. Is that a Brethren thing, or is that a little bit different? And how does that work?
Well,
how does that work?
Yeah, it's very Brethren thing because it happens in this building, and so chapel, while occasionally we'll invite people like pastors from the area to come in and serve, or if we have visiting pastors from across the denomination or special guests, we'll invite them to share in the worship. It's primarily, it's staffed by people in this building from all of these different aspects of our life, and our employees are invited, or they can volunteer to lead a chapel service. So it's a place where everyone who's in the building have the opportunity of expressing their faith and leading in the opportunity of worship for the community.
You mentioned the worldwide church when you were talking about what. Does the Church of Brethren still have a mission service overseas? And how many countries does the Church of the Brethren impact?
Yes, we do. Global Mission Partnerships is a program that is part of our ministry that reaches around the globe. Missions is really changing in the world today. We have sister churches. The Nigerian church is its own entity, its structure, its leadership, and it's its own church with its own solid foundation, formed from Church of the Brethren missionaries, but it really has autonomy in its life. In India, there is a worshiping body of Church of the Brethren congregations that also is autonomous, and we maintain relationships with them. Where we have strength and where we have the numbers to support an indigenous leadership and church, we think it's important for them to have their own leadership and move as their culture and their context lead them into being the Church of the Brethren. So we encourage that movement. Places where we are still interacting with resources, both occasionally with personnel or with financial resources, are the church in the Dominican Republic, which is strong. They are growing, and their leadership is maturing, and there will be a day when they'll be fully engaged in their own life. The church in Haiti, and then we now have several congregations that are worshiping in Spain, and that's not an official mission point yet. The Dominican Church have family in Spain, and they wanted to be a part of the Church of the Brethren, and so they formed. And now when it comes time to recognize the official church, they want the parent church to be involved to help give credence to their official status. And then lastly would be, we have Mission Church in Brazil, and then also in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there are several congregations, and that mission began through brethren.org on the internet. Oh. And a pastor started out, it's probably been 9-10 years ago now, asking for literature and books on what it meant to be Church of the Brethren. And so over the years, we've established a relationship, and there are 2 small congregations now in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it's really it's a shifting time where instead of it being missionaries from here going all around the world to plant the church as we know it to be, to being immigrants perhaps going back to their homes or going to where their family is and planting the church, or via the internet people learn about us, and then we work to establish the church with them, and they're doing quite well, and they're vibrant congregations.
Here we are a kind of soil, and we are spreading the seed everywhere, every time we have the opportunity, and we are not choosing the soil. We are just spreading it out. And we are doing this, not only speaking, but doing things. And we are doing things through the pastoral clinic. We are doing this through the articles that is written for the newspaper, through the website, through the articles that are in website, through the articles that are reproduced by other sites, through the Ministry of Preventing Child Abuse, through the Ministry of the Public Attorney, two of them that they are doing this, and one of them is a pastor, and he is doing it in a free way as a pastor of the Church of the Brethren. And the other one that is Junior, that is doing the drug addiction recovery program, and the prison system to the families and the interns, and also through the soccer team that he is training or coaching. We are not supposed to germinate it. But my feeling is, my understanding is that we are in charge to care those who are germinated.
What attracts people, I think, to the traditions of the Church of the Brethren stem out of our Anabaptist pietist heritage, which really focuses at the life and the teachings of Jesus and begs the answer to the question of what is it that Jesus is calling us to today? How should we live? And the optic of that would then look at the issue of Jesus' reconciling people with God and people with each other. And that's the basis of the church's, a lot of the basis of the church's historic peace understanding is that even the very essence of Christ's life and ministry was about building relationship across barriers, building relationship with all people, saying the kingdom of God is now and it's for all people. So he resolved the issue between God and people, and then he, many stories about going outside of the tradition, the faith tradition, and saying, well, the kingdom is here for you today. And that's the reconciliation of people with each other too. And so it is that very presence and teaching of the Gospels that people are interested in. And the other piece is that in the Anabaptist tradition, it's believers' baptism. And so people come to a place of accountability and they say, this is something that I really want to do and I have passion for. And it's not a rite of birth. It is a personal confession of their faith. And then the baptism is something that they are choosing to do as an expression of that inward transformation. And we really see that people are just thriving for that. And the Anabaptist movement around the world is growing in leaps and bounds. And so here we are, a 300-year-old tradition that have had that at our roots. And people are saying, wow, this is something we'd like to be involved in.
One of the things that I recall from somebody recently who came to the Church of the Brethren, they said that it seemed like the Brethren live their faith Monday through Saturday, the same as they do on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And that's a wonderful description of the way we should be living our faith. And I hope I think if we can do that, we're doing a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, another aspect that I think is that the journey, as people join the church, we really need to work at helping people to understand. Coming and joining any church, whether it's our church or any denomination, somebody comes in the door and there are many assumptions made that, okay, now they get it. And so we expect them to act and think and behave like all the rest of us. And we need to stop thinking in those terms, because with every life that becomes a part of the church, we become born anew in life. We have a new element that does change us. And that tension is important to the vibrancy of the church. And we need to pay attention to the energy and to the insight of people that are joining us, and listen to what they're saying about who we are as a tradition, as well as saying, well, here's who we are, now you come do everything. We need to be attentive to others too.
That reminds me, that I wanted to ask you a question. How long have you been General Secretary? And then, what's it like to have the annual conference moderator change every year? Because every year, a new person brings that vitality, that new ideas, those new experiences, those new hopes and dreams.
Well, I will have completed my 9th year in this role at annual conference here in about 2 weeks or so. It's just been a very remarkable journey. Lots of good experiences, lots of trials that bring growth, and sometimes not always a lot of fun. It's hard work, but anytime you're working with people, I think you experience that. As it relates to the moderator, our roles are so different. The General Secretary really works in the administrative role and serves to be a link between the administration and the ministry of this organization with the moderator in the annual conference. The annual conference is actually the annual meeting of the corporation and of the church itself. And so I sit with the moderator and the annual conference secretary, and we form the leadership team. And so we work strongly with each other. Well, the moderator, however, serves a 1-year term, and they, as moderator, and it's very concentrated, and they're able to give lots of focus and energy to the spiritual well-being of the church, as well as to carry forward the agenda of the church as would appear on our annual conference agenda. And I think that is a good delineation of the responsibilities. It's very appropriate to have a moderator who serves in that role, and that's an elected office. And they actually serve a year as moderator-elect, then moderator, and then the year after they've been moderator, they have some functions that they also carry as the immediate past moderator.
Do you get to see the Holy Spirit or some greater purpose emerging from these collaborative efforts?
Oh, I most certainly do. Today, for example, I just returned early this morning from Knoxville, Tennessee, where over 100 of our young adults are gathering at the University of Tennessee for the National Young Adult Conference. Happens every 4 years. And I spent 2 days with the young adults in worship, in play, in Bible study, in workshops, and the vitality of these young adults. Everybody says, oh, is the church relevant to young people and young adults? Well, here are 105 young adults who've taken a week away from their lives. It's a struggle for them to do that. And they've come to be a part of the gathering of other Church of the Brethren folk, and they're very much interested in the Church of the Brethren moving into the future. They want to be a part of the church, and they want to know. They would ask questions of me like, how's the best way for me to get involved in the life of the church? Where can I be engaged in its life? What are your recommendations? And for me, that's great hope for the church for today, because we need their vision and we need their excitement now as they mature into someday. One of them will be sitting in this chair where I am, and we want to nurture them. So yes, there's a lot of vitality. We have in 2 years the National Youth Conference, where we'll get 3,500 high school age youth together, and then we have a National Older Adult Conference, and we have a mission conference this fall in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, where people will come to look at the global mission work and what the hopes and the objectives are, and to encourage people to engage in the programs of missions. So, yeah, there is a tremendous amount of work going on that's positive. Brethren Disaster Ministries is one that's actively engaged. One of, you know, at a time when our economy was sliding into the doldrums in 2008, 2009, the Church of the Brethren, you know, responded to the earthquake in Haiti just remarkably with such generosity that was disproportionate to the economic situation. And for us, over about $2.5 million was given to assist the disaster response program. And that program, and this was a great collaborative effort, because we have a church in Haiti that's new and trying to find its roots. So the Office of Missions, the Office of Ministry and Disaster Response teamed up so that we could empower and to undergird the work of the Haitian people themselves in ways that they wanted to engage their communities and to help people after that horrific experience. And that church now is growing, and they are flourishing because of their own vitality. So yes, there's lots of great activity going on.
How many churches are in the Church of the Brethren?
Just around 1,000 congregations here in the United States.
What kind of hopes and dreams do you have as General Secretary? I think you've been talking a little bit about that, but I'm just wondering if you could highlight your own personal goals for the church.
My personal goals would be tied very closely to a strategic plan that the Mission and Ministry Board just completed, and it was an appreciative inquiry process where we asked lots of people for their input, and our constituencies really drove the strategic plan's foundation with goals of Brethren service, which includes Brethren volunteer service, disaster response, work camps. It includes a vital congregational life ministry. How do we have vital congregations and encourage them and nurture them and grow established congregations? Planting churches. Brethren voice. How is it that the members of the Church of the Brethren can respond to the question, oh, you're Church of the Brethren. Well, who is that like, or what does that mean? Well, we need to be able to very clearly identify who we are as a people. We want to work at that and help, but also to recognize that we're given plenty of opportunity to share our voice outside of the church, nationally and internationally, because of our uniquenesses. And then to be sustainable, which is not a maintenance mode. What we want to do is we want to have vibrant, vital ministries that people say, that's something I've got to be a part of. I want to be engaged in that. So sustainability is about encouraging that type of excitement. People want to be involved. Some of the most dynamic work that I've had the privilege to be engaged in over the last 9 years has been related to the church's historic peace stance and the World Council of Churches' Decade to Overcome Violence, which came to a conclusion last year. During the decade, the historic peace churches, which would include the Quakers, the Mennonites, and the Brethren, have held 4 continental gatherings of our constituents around the world to hear each other's stories within the context of that continent of how being historic peace churches affects our engagement of daily life, the challenges and the struggles. And they were marvelous experiences. At the end of this decade to overcome violence, the World Council of Churches moved to a place where they are really wanting to adopt a new document. It's called the Declaration, the Ecumenical Declaration for a Just Peace. And it it is now being studied by all the members of the World Council of Churches. And when we meet in November of 2013 in Busan, Korea, we will consider this ecumenical declaration becoming our statement and understanding of faith as followers of Jesus, that we should really be looking at peace as the foundation for all life internationally. And it really works to supplant the just war declaration that so many communions have used. And its foundational purpose was to be a way to look at very, very carefully at war, and over time it became the reason to go to war. Well, churches throughout the World Council of Churches are now saying, wait a minute, war never brings about a sustainable peace. And what does the Bible have to say in the life of Jesus? This declaration is fundamental for us, and it looks not only at the issue of peace among peoples, it looks at peace in the marketplace, it looks at peace with our planet, and so it is a very comprehensive look at all of our life structures. This is an important transitional moment for those people who follow Jesus, to say war really is not what we should jump to resolve international conflict. There are better ways, and it offers good alternatives to really say this should be the very last expression used to resolve conflict. And the Church of the Brethren has had that at its root throughout its 300 years, because we are called to hold the other as the sacred creation of God. No matter who they are, no matter what their faith, they are created in the image of God, and we are to hold their lives sacred and not bear arms against them. So it's a critical piece, and it's been a delight to work on it. So we'll see what happens in Busan.
The path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod shall be called the friends of God. May his peace begin with me. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin